Welcome back to Investing and Trading Live, sponsored by Online Trading Academy. An Online Trading Academy, 25 years in the business of teaching people just like you how to trade, how to invest, how to do that confidently and safely, no matter which direction this market goes. We have markets that have been dropping pretty dramatically over the past, this whole year, and people are starting to feel that pain. And now is the time to take control of that. And we have these investing classes that if you missed tickets to, we have a free investing class. You can text the word investing to the number 210-210 for 2 free tickets. If say you're new to the markets and you want to see how that works, just text investing to the number 210-210. If you are that person that already knows, hey, I want to get into the markets, I already know I want to trade and invest, and you want a 3-day deep dive into the financial markets, we have that. It's only $99. It's normally $200. And this is just for our radio listeners. You can call right now for that. And make sure when you call in, make sure to ask for the 3-day deep dive into the financial markets. It's call 888-682-6466. That's 888-682-6466. And do that right now. We'll make sure we get a date that works best for you for that 3-day deep dive. So, Al, we talked about in that last segment really what's happening in the markets. The Dow Jones is down roughly 20%, S&P 500 down roughly 24%, the NASDAQ down roughly 33%, and a lot of those buy and hold investors are just hoping things come back. And we know it's not coming back right now. This past week has been a rough week. The past several weeks have been rough. So we're seeing people get a little nervous with their accounts.
Yep.
And then they now want to take control because it's not too late, right? But if you continue to just let it sit there, eventually it will be too late. So that being said, when you talk to a lot of people here at the Academy, there's we call it different strokes for different folks because everybody has a different goal or objective in the markets. So when you talk to people, how do you get people in the right mindset of taking control of their accounts because of what's really happening in the markets? Is a psychological effect there?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the great thing is the people that are coming into the class are taking the first step. They're showing some initiative and they're showing some concern about what's happened to them or what could happen to them. We're in a high stress environment right now with these markets. So people just in general have a tendency to do nothing other than panic and then just rely on hope. Hope is not something that should be part of your strategy. This is kind of the ostrich strategy, the head in the sand strategy. And the reason that people do that is that they don't have a strategy. They don't know a strategy that is appropriate for different market conditions. And a lot of people are thinking, if you go back to, I mentioned the pandemic, if you go back to what happened during the pandemic, a lot of people that saw their portfolios get decimated then saw the market turn around and we had a historic rise in the market after that, and they got back everything plus some in a very short period of time. So the thinking is that's probably going to happen again. But let's think about this for a minute. Why did the market come back so quickly after it bottomed out in March of 2020? Well, we were still in that quantitative easing mode where the Fed, now it was like quantitative easing on steroids.
Well,
Trillions of dollars were pumped into the market
Okay, so that's
at zero
quantitative.
interest rates.
So basically printing money.
Yeah, it's a perfect environment for
Poof.
the formation of a bubble, which is
Okay.
exactly what happened. That's not going to happen again because we've gone from quantitative easing on steroids to full-blown quantitative tightening,
And that means
pulling money out of the economy, reducing the flow or the amount of money that's in the economy, and then also raising interest rates.
So
The
why did-
opposite of what happened before that rose the market. So you can't count on that happening again. It can't happen because the Fed just can't do that.
so it's kind of like a thermostat, right? They were turning the thermostat up
Right.
back then. Now they're turning it down.
It's exactly right. It's a good analogy.
So that's what's happening. If that's happening in the markets, and as far as in the economy, it could potentially continue to bring down the markets because things are going bad. Well, you see interest rates for mortgages,
Yeah,
up around
right.
7%. What's
That's
that going to do?
huge.
Potentially start dropping the housing market.
Right.
The housing market is actually bigger than the stock market, which will actually bring the stock market with it.
Right.
Right. So anything that's bigger than the stock market, it'll bring it. No matter what, the stock market is the smallest thing out there. It's going to bring that
Right.
down. So if you have money in the market right now and you're just letting it sit there, well, I'll tell you what. Time to prepare. I mean, we don't have a
Mhm.
crystal ball. I don't know what's going to happen, but you know what? It might be better to prepare. And that's why we have these investing classes at our local academies to help you prepare how to get ready for these different things that are happening in the markets. So, with these classes, if you're new to the markets, it really introduces you to these different opportunities. So, you can text right now for 2 tickets. Text the word investing to the number 210 210. That's text investing to the number 210 210 for 2 free tickets for an investing class to see what's happening, what are some of the potential outcomes, and how can you prepare for these markets. Excuse me. So,
Yeah.
Al, I'm seeing a lot of different emotions with people right now,
Mhm.
and a lot of that has been created by the news. So I want to just ask you a couple of questions and see what your thoughts are on this, because I was talking with a good friend recently, and I said, "Hey, where do you consume your media, or where do you get your news, or what's going on in this world?" And she said, I watch the news. I said, "Oh, good. So what, 10 o'clock?" She goes, "No, I watch the 5 o'clock, the 6 o'clock, the 7 o'clock, the 8 o'clock, the 9 o'clock, and the 10 o'clock." So what's happening right now is people are so consumed with news because it's actually entertaining to see what some of the things that some people are saying out there, but it's really impacting people's judgment in the financial world, because what's happening is there's people are so consumed what's happening in the news, whether whatever it may be, and then they say, "Well, my finances are secondary." Why do you think that's happening with a lot of people? Because think about that. If your finances are secondary to some silly news, you might have been conditioned and actually brainwashed a little bit.
Well, the problem is with the news, people think about it. What sells news? What keeps people coming back to listen to the news? It's not somebody saying, well, it's a nice day today. See you tomorrow.
Yeah.
No, they have to be negative about things. They have to point out those things that they create emotion in people, and
Yeah.
it causes fear, and that fear causes people to not do things. But what we are seeing now is, and by the way, that bad news, when they bring out all the bad news, they never tell you how to overcome that.
Yeah.
How can you make the news not impact you?
Hmm.
That's really what we do. Don't worry about the news. Don't worry. Don't have opinions based on what you're hearing on those news shows, because the markets are different. The market and the economy are two separate things. But there's things that happen in the market on a regular basis, a repeatable basis, that can be used to your advantage. Right now, what we're seeing is that people are starting to change their lifestyle. They're starting to cut back on things. You mentioned mortgages.
Hmm.
Mortgage rates are huge. How about credit card rates? Credit
Yeah.
cards, auto loans, any kind of debt has just exploded. So people are rethinking their habits. Even I read an article the other day about Christmas. People are rethinking how they're going to spend for Christmas. So your kids this year, instead of your kids getting the toys they want or the video games they want, maybe one of your kids gets a pound of hamburger in their stocking.
Well,
The other
who
one
knows, Al?
gets.
With everything that people are trying to stop, they might stop Christmas. Who knows?
Yeah, you can't do. No, we're not going to do that.
You
Josh.
know how it is these
We
days.
know.
It's amazing.
But your kids are going to get a pound of hamburger, or maybe the second kid gets a package of bacon and a dozen eggs.
And
People are
some toenails.
yeah, rethinking what they're spending money on. And Newsweek just came out with an article showing that over 60% of all Americans, and that's people in multiple income ranges, are living paycheck to paycheck. 42% of the people they surveyed make over $100,000 a year and are living paycheck to paycheck. So how do you get around that? Why is it so important to be able to take control of your financial life now? It's because there are things that are available for you to trade that will generate short-term income for you. Maybe you need some additional income. So instead of buying your kid a couple pounds of hamburger for Christmas, you can actually buy the toy or the video
Well,
game.
with the prices of hamburger these days, they probably won't be buying that either.
Well, that's true. Well, maybe you only get 1 pound instead
There
of
you
2
go.
pounds.
There you go. We forgot about inflation. We haven't even talked about that yet today.
Yeah, and that's what's really impacting a lot of things now. But the point is, regardless of what's happening in the economy and regardless of what's happening in the market, there's always something moving. When I mentioned that 10 years of zero returns, basically a flat market for 10 years, that doesn't mean that the market's not moving. The
Mhm.
S&P 500 might start the year at 4,000 and end the year at 4,000, but it wasn't at 4,000 every day during the year. It had big up moves, and then that was countered by big down moves, and that was countered by more big up moves, and that was countered by more down moves. It may have started at 4,000, ended at 4,000, but there were numerous opportunities there
Yeah.
with this volatility that we're seeing. That should be, and you should look at volatility as being a good thing for you if you know how to take advantage of it, if you know what the opportunities are. And they're there for you to use. You just have to get the right education to be able to use them.
Yeah, all joking aside, though, we try to have a little fun in the show, and hopefully, we're shedding some light on what's really happening with with the markets and everything, the economy, and hopefully to inspire people to take action. But what can people do differently? We have if the stock market's not producing anything for people, it's actually making people
Mhm.
lose right now. And why I can't say that's kind of a weird thing. It's not making people lose. People are deciding to just hold
That's the
stocks long.
result of
That's the result. I got to
sure.
make sure we're correct there. But what are some of the things that people can do a little bit different then?
Well, and some people do use the stock market for short-term income, but it's a very expensive way to do it. It's there are other ways that are available to you that will allow your money to be better served and will allow you to trade in something or invest in something that you can get into and out of on a short-term basis. They're kind of intended to be able to do that. The futures market is one. The foreign exchange market is another. The options market is another. Those are assets, and there are strategies you can use with those assets where you can generate weekly income or monthly income, or for some people, daily income.
So those strategies are designed for that shorter term, right?
Exactly. And
Okay.
who's using them? It's all the big institutions are using them. The big brokerage firms, their traders are not putting together a stock portfolio or mutual fund portfolio that is intended to be held onto for 10 or 20 years. They're trading daily, and they have to be able to get into and out of something with enough profit potential to make it worth their while. That's what these markets provide. The one of the great things about futures, forex, and options are that they trade with leverage. So your dollar, every dollar you have could actually allow you to invest in something worth 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 times the value of that dollar.
Mm-hmm.
That's leverage. So you're really maximizing the use of every investment dollar that you have. Futures and forex trade around the clock, 24
Okay.
hours a day. As far as liquidity, the futures and the forex market are two of the bigger markets out there. The forex market, foreign exchange market, trades over $5 trillion a day,
Yep.
more than all the stock markets combined.
Yeah. So some of these different opportunities, they're not they're not different. I mean, I should say they're not new. They're just a little bit different.
Right.
They've been around for a long time, and so with these different things that are happening, you have to have a different strategy. I was talking about different income strategies in the markets. So if that pound of hamburger is going to be too expensive at Christmas time, well, it might be time to learn a strategy to be able to combat some of that. We have inflation, we have a market that's going down, but there's strategies to profit in down markets. It's called shorting. So there's just different ways. It's just a different direction to use the market. So people have a car, they go forward. They also have reverse. Well, the markets go forward, up, and they also go in reverse, which is down. So you need a strategy that's designed to create a possible income for you for both directions. And now you teach these investing classes locally here at our academies. We have actually local academies near you where we have a few different classrooms. We have classes that are going on to teach you what's going on in these markets, how to help you make smarter trading decisions and investing decisions. So we do have some tickets here to give away. And this is for 2 tickets. Now, most people bring their spouse or significant other. We're seeing
Right.
a lot of people make their financial decisions together. So it's pretty neat. I mean, seeing the spouse come in, even if they don't want to come in, it's nice that they're seeing and want to see what their spouse wants to get into, really to hopefully make a better future for themselves. So you can text right now. Text the word investing to the number 210-210. That's text investing right now to the number 210-210. And that's for 2 free tickets. Also, if you want to learn more about and take a deep dive into these other assets that like Al is talking about, futures, forex, and options, I have a 3-day deep dive into the financial markets. There is a tuition on that. It's normally $200 For our radio listeners today, we're doing it for $99. Call 888-682-6466. That's 888-682-6466. Mention you want the 3-day deep dive. Al, coming up next, I want to talk about that old phrase, money doesn't grow on trees. Stay tuned. This is Josh and Al. We will be right back.